So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this, the third in our Retail Reboot webinar series. Thank you for joining us. A little bit of housekeeping first. So, you are on mute by default, and that's just so we don't get any feedback from the audio and through your microphone. So, please do keep your microphones on mute unless you wish to ask an audible question. We'll make time for those audible questions at the end. If there are questions that come to you before that point, please use the chat box. We've put some questions in there already from people who posted them when they registered. So if that's what you did, you should see your question there, and you won't need to post it again. The presenters, the speakers, have both seen those questions that have come in so far, unless you have just registered and posted a question at that point, in which case they won't have seen it. So, welcome. My name is Andrew Murphy. I'm a senior lecturer in retail marketing at Massey University and a deputy director in the Centre for Advanced Retail Studies. We're putting on this webinar to help retailers and small businesses of many sectors to try and cope with the new economic environment that we are all facing. This is the third. We started with webinar 1 2 weeks ago, where we had Zealed and Acronym present on how to get online fast. So that was targeting businesses who weren't historically online, small shops, hospitality, and so on, and needing to get online in order to keep their businesses going. So if you're one of those people who have watched that webinar and are getting yourself online right now, then this is the natural progression. How do you connect with your customers? So we have two speakers today, Dave Hughes and Wendy Thompson, and they will introduce themselves when they come to present. Wendy, I know you just waved at everyone, but I don't think they'll be able to see your wave. But anyway, when you speak, they will see you. That's all good. Okay. So yeah, the point of today really is to try and think through how businesses who are newly online and wanting to attract customers both to their new online footprint or back into their physical store, because clearly tomorrow that is possible, and hopefully you are looking forward to either welcoming customers into your business, or are looking forward to going into others and getting a haircut like I clearly need to do. It's exciting times in the next little while. So how do we attract customers? How do we identify them? How do we motivate them? How do we convert them to paying customers and keeping our businesses afloat? That's the mission for today. And two highly experienced speakers to walk us through that. So we'll start with you, Dave.
Thanks, Andrew. I'll start off, give you a bit of background to myself, maybe, and then Wendy, maybe a bit of background, and then I'll sort of cover off the first question about owning online advertising. But I sort of fell into retail about 20 years ago and followed a direct marketing path with EasyBuy through to Briscoe's, where I managed the online channel for about 7 years, to now where I'm running my own business, which is focused on building out from my experience of the past, which is a combination of, I'd say, data-driven insight, supply chain optimization, digital marketing, and that type of thing. So I've been around the traps a bit. I've sort of got a few battle scars and a few good experiences which we want to share today. But I think in today's presentation, what is probably going to be useful for you all, I've got a very, very strong technical and data background. I think Wendy brings a very different skill set to what I bring, which will balance out, I think, what I've got to say in a more creative and I guess a go-to-market way. So Wendy, can you give us a bit of background to yourself as well?
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, hi everyone. Really great to be here this morning on COVID level 2 Eve, I think, which is pretty kind of cool. Yes, I've been in marketing for 20 odd years and started a social media marketing company about 10 years ago called Socialite. We've got a lot of retail experience and it's fascinating, everything from small retails up to at the moment we're helping out the Warehouse Mitre 10 New World. So it's been a really interesting, I've never actually seen anything like it in terms of the changes that we've had in the last 6 or 7 weeks. And so hopefully today I sort of come from a social media perspective, so all about building communities, finding your tribe, involving your community in your business and how to do that to make your business stronger. So I think, yeah, Dave and I've had some pre-chats to this, and it's been really amazing. So I think you guys will get quite a lot out of this in terms of the balance between data and people.
Thanks, Wendy. The first question we had was around how do you own online advertising? Well, there's probably a couple of ways to do that. One is get a whole pile of cash and just throw it into advertising and just buy your way to the top. And I think there's probably nobody here that can do that. But my experience, and to be honest, I've never been in a position where there's money available that freely for advertising. So I take a real mechanical and a metric view of advertising right from the get-go. And there's a couple of things that I really focus on myself. And being a practitioner, I tend to be onto the numbers myself. I think the most important thing when it comes to any level of digital advertising, if you're using an agency, you've got to have a real trust with your agency. I learned that many years ago, that just paying an agency to do a job doesn't necessarily mean you get the job done. You've still got to maintain a level of control and interest yourself. So to do that, there's a couple of metrics I would recommend everyone uses. The first one for me, there's 2 things I use. One is Google Analytics, and then one is just a straight, simple profit and loss type approach. Every business runs a marketing spend in their P&L, right? So if you were to calculate your marketing spend as a percentage of sales, and I've seen various different numbers, but I'm going to pull a number out of the air. Let's say you want to run a 5% marketing to sales ratio. That number is absolutely gold, because that tells you for every campaign you do, if you're running up or down on that, you're going to be either you're going better or you're worse. So my time at Briscoe's, without sharing too much, we ran the digital marketing channel, the digital business on about 4.5%. So I ran a pro forma P&L every week, got the marketing numbers, and to be fair, I didn't have a big team of people running around doing numbers, by the way. This was me scratching around trying to find numbers, plug into a spreadsheet to give myself the opportunity to work out, am I on track or not? And what I learned from that was, you can run a campaign at 20% if you want, but I can tell you it's not going to be sustainable. You'll come up with a magic number for your business that will sustain, and it could be anywhere between 5 and 10%, but it's got to be, from a P&L point of view, it's got to be something sustainable within your business. So your business may not withstand, and certainly in the future, you may not withstand a 9% marketing to sales ratio. You may have to go, I have to get that down to 7 to 5 to 4 to 3 or whatever. That becomes a tool for you to look at all day, every day. And again, I'm probably preaching a bit on the numbers, but having that number in mind when you run a campaign, or you run a week, or you run a month, or you run any aspect of digital marketing, you can just have a quick look at it and go, am I on track or not? So then the second level of numbers, I have a trading dashboard in Google Analytics. And for those of you, I was going to throw it on the screen, but to be fair, to make it easier, if anyone wants a copy of the trading dashboard, I'm happy to share it with you. Just give me a shout on LinkedIn or via my website or whatever. But it's a simple set of metrics I look at every week, and I set it up and do a week-on-week, year-on-year comparison. And there's a number of things in there that I go looking for that tell me, am I on track? So there's 2 parts. Am I trading okay? What am I spending? And when I spend, am I being effective? And then having those 2 together, when you talk to an agency, or even if you're doing your own digital marketing, you've got enough insight at a high level just to go, am I on track or not? So you can, the thing I would also recommend for most people is, don't get too bogged down in the numbers. And as a numbers person, I've learned that over the years. It's easy to get screeds of numbers, you'll get lost. That's why I always go to my number 1 number, which is, what is my marketing percentage of sales? Because that's just one simple number. And if I get stuck, I can go back and go, am I on my 4.5%? Am I at 5? Am I 6? Have I got a problem? And then I can drill down, as opposed to going, I've got an ROI ad spend of X%. I can't relate to it and I don't know what it means. And I think that's really important as well when you're looking at numbers. If you've got numbers that you don't know what they mean, don't even bother, either work out what they're doing or don't look at them, because you'll get confused. Then I sort of draw myself out to the high level numbers, look at your trading dashboard. Are you getting sales? What are the ratios? How am I spending? And where am I putting the money? And this is where I think I'll sort of hand over to Wendy about where would you put the money? Because again, when I drill down into channel groups and where the money is going, I can give you a bit more detail on that. Maybe we touch that later. But from a creative point of view, I think, Wendy, this would be a really good point for you. I've got some money to spend. Where am I going to spend it?
Yeah, well, first of all, like, we do look at things slightly differently, which is great. That's why you guys are going to see a really good debate today, because my theory on marketing is if it's doing it right, you actually want to spend more, not less. And I had this conversation with a friend of mine who owns a series of car yards yesterday. He's like, oh, my marketing budget's X, $30,000 per year. I want to get it down to 20. And I was like, but why? If that $30,000 is creating you 10 times revenue, why would you want to reduce it? He's like, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. And it was like, my theory on marketing is it should be returning an investment. And it's not, I suppose my theory is slightly different from Dave's. It's not that hard to work it out.
I'd actually support that, Wendy, because if you look at, by using a marketing ratio, that's why it's important if you look at it as a ratio, because if you're looking at 4.5% or 10% or whatever your sales number is, if you can afford to run at 10 or whatever percent, you keep running at that. So if your sales are increasing, I actually support that theory.
Yeah, to me it makes sense. It's like, instead of thinking of marketing as a cost, you think of it as an investment, which is a slight change in language, but as you'll find, language is very important, I think. And I do think that every $5,000 or $100 that you spend should be returning an investment. Then you basically want to get to a point where the more you spend, the more money you make.
That's right.
The more you sound. Interestingly, like one of our larger, big New Zealand clients at the moment, they've had a lot of redundancies and a lot of, huge reduction in sales. They've been in the news a lot. And the only budgets that have been safe are the digital budgets, which is great for me and my company, because they can track that. They know that every dollar they spend, they make a return of, say, $10, $20 on it. So our budgets are safe, but everyone else was kind of in trouble, which is the pro and the con of digital methods. I'm a marketer, so I'm not just a digital marketer, but right now digital is where everybody is, and that's why I suppose we're having this conversation today, because suddenly if you weren't digital, you have to get digital all of a sudden, which is interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting place. In terms of your question, Dave, about where to put the budget, because that's the tricky one, right? It's like, okay, I want to spend money on marketing. Do I hire a plane to fly a banner at the moment? Probably right now a really good idea, because there's no planes up there. But on a digital point of view, it's actually just all about looking at your customer. So where is your customer? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Google doing search? Are they on the Stuff website? And finding out where they are, and then investing in putting money and buying ads in those places. Basically, starts with the customer as always, which is really cool. Is that a good? Yeah. In terms of actually learning how to do ads, like physically how to do them, because that was one of our questions, was how to do it yourself. I've got a short course in my company which I can send out, which we put together for SMEs, which I can send out afterwards as well, in terms of a step-by-step, without doing a sales pitch. It's there if people want to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's easier to pick up that stuff later rather than dive into it now. The challenge,
how to, it's a bit hard.
Yeah, the challenge. One of the challenges I see so I have a structure in my mind. And sorry, go back to what you said before, Wendy. I absolutely agree on the spend growing relative to sales. So if you use a 5% marketing to sales ratio, if you spend $1,000, you want to get 20 grand back. You get 40 grand back, I'll put more money in. And that's how we ran the Briscoes channel. And largely everywhere I've been is the same. You just keep feeding money in as a relative measure, and it means you don't choke your business, because that is a really high risk. You go, I don't treat marketing as a spend, I'd call it investment as well. And that languaging, I agree with Wendy on, it's really important, it's a little bit corporate in its nature when you talk about it like that, but it is an investment, not a spend, because you cut spend and you drive investment. One thing I've seen though in my trading dashboard, I look at what's called the default channel groups from a Google Analytic point of view. So you got your search engine optimization, which is my favorite channel, and I'm a really big advocate of search engine marketing, followed by email. So there's a basic structure I look for. So SEO is first, followed by email, thereabouts, a bit of SEM, which is very tactical, search engine marketing, because you're spending very directly, being very tactical. But the social channels always come in at the bottom. And I always find it hard to monetize social. I know you've got to be there, but I always find it hard to monetize it, and particularly when you look at the numbers, it always comes in at the bottom. So it makes it hard to justify on paper the investment in social. How do we crack that, Wendy?
It's kind of the same way you do everything else. I mean, if you use a platform like, you know, even like at a DIY level, like a HubSpot or an Active Campaign, you can track all your social and see what it's, or, you know, these bigger ones that I use. You can see what your investment is. So in the same way that the big networks will know that every flyer they put out, which costs them 0.00 cents, returns X, you can do the same with social. Probably the biggest thing about social media, though, I would say is, which is different from every other media, is its two-way direct sort of function. So if you put out a billboard or a press ad, you know, you're broadcasting to everyone and saying, hey, we're here, which is important. But when you do social media, you're going, hey, we're here, let's have a conversation. And there's two parts to social media. There is the sales, the revenue, the money that it makes you, but almost especially right now, I think more importantly is actually that connection with your customer and that information that you get from your customers right now, because every business is having to change, and your customers in your community will actually tell you what they want to change. Like you can right now, the conversations. I had a good example of a friend of mine owns a supplement type business, collagen. Apparently it's amazing. I've never tried it, but I'm going to now after talking to her. And she had a business, and she was told really right at the beginning of COVID, she was told she was an essential service, because it was a food product, she could send it out. So she's like, oh cool, we'll carry on, and we'll just keep doing our orders. And she put out a post about it and got immediate backlash from her entire community saying, hey, you're not really an essential service, come on, the careers are already struggling enough, keep that for people like food, it's ridiculous. And she was like, okay, even though I was legally allowed to do it, the community is telling me they're not okay with this. And she could very quickly go, hey guys, sorry, I got this wrong, apologies, buy it now, and I will send it out at the end of lockdown. She had the biggest sales she's ever had in that particular month, and rocked all her projections out the window just by listening to her customers and doing what she was doing, but actually listening and moving with them. And I thought that was a really nice example of getting your customers and your community involved, and that's what you can do with social as well as sell. So it kind of has that double benefit, and why I'm so passionate about it. Why I
agree with you.
Company in the first place.
I agree with you on community, and that's the I think that's the unattributed component of social that I've seen. Whereas I'm trying to monetize channels all the time. It's challenging in social, but what I have seen in social, it does create community. So the real value in social is actually reading posts and understanding what customers are saying. Whilst you're not just getting a direct hit in sales, you're actually being given a fascinating amount of insight from your customers that you can choose to either listen to or not.
That is true.
what's your Wendy, on some of the social channels for some of the businesses I work with, there's not enough time in the day to actually read all the posts. How do you get disciplined?
which is a great problem. It's a great problem to have if you're getting so many customer comments and things that you can't read them all. Like that, that's a sign of a really healthy business, and that's where you need to invest in support to do that. What we do at a big corporate level is that's what my company does for big corporates. So they create reports that go to the entire senior leadership team, and they change their business based on what 500,000 New Zealanders are saying every day, which they gather in real time through social media. So at a corporate level, you use an agency because it's much more, it's the best way to do it because you're just dealing with so much information. At a smaller level, I've got friends with sort of more medium-sized businesses, and they've got sort of full-time people just getting all the information coming through and like putting through. What my favorite way to do it, and what I've always told the team, is you can do big reports, but if I can get like 5 insights a day of what everyone's feeling, that is gold to a business. And it might be something really simple, like everyone's talking about the cold weather today. It's like, okay, let's jump on that. Or you know, everyone's, you know, like we've seen these trends go through, and we've never seen it like we've seen it in the last 6 weeks, because social media traffic is up by 60%. So everyone's on there. They weren't on there before, they're on there now. And you know, everyone's baking sourdough for some reason. Like, why sourdough? I don't know. Crafts have gone huge. Tie-dye is the big one coming through from overseas, apparently. Like random stuff. It's like hilarious.
I can probably answer the question about sourdough, to be honest. And that's because of time. So sourdough takes time to mature. You can watch it, you can nurture it. And we've had that time for the last 4 weeks, as opposed to something you just quickly whack up and throw in the oven. So it's the nurturing element, I think, that's been important.
Hey, I've got another social media. Sorry, I'm probably should be answering questions, not asking them. But I've got one more for you, Wendy, around, and this is, I'm probably asking questions on people's behalf because I know these are problems. One thing I've experienced with social is there's 2 aspects to the questions. One is people post information, you get good insight, that's great. But the one area that I've struggled with and seen businesses struggled with is when things aren't going well, people jump on Facebook or whatever social channel and start smashing you. Do you guys do you do that first level response, or what's your advice around that? Because that is somewhere where you can get really unstuck really quickly.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And it's the reason why so many businesses years ago didn't want, the conversations I used to have like 8 years ago was like, I don't want to go on social media because my customers will say mean things about me. And I'm like, oh, well, you've got problems in your business if that's your number one reason for not going on social media. It's like, you know, you've got other business problems you need to sort out. But like with every business, you go through those times. Like, you know, we've looked after telcos. They're never, like, no one's ever happy with a telco. You know, we look after, we help out New World. There's so much stuff going on right now, and any retailer is getting slammed right now because of the whole delivery and dispatch issues. So it is just part of life. Like, my team manage it. What I would say in terms of like practicalness is you have to be really, really, really empathetic. And you know, there's different sort of types of leadership. And I think right now, as you know, we're all sitting here as business leaders, I don't know about you, but my leadership skills have really been tested. And we're having to lead with a lot of empathy and a lot of understanding that everyone's frustrated, everyone's lashing out, everyone's kind of going through high highs and low lows. And so just responding with a lot of kindness is really, really important. So never drink in social media or react. But like what I love to do and what our challenge is and what's fun to do is when you get someone coming, like we've had, a funny little story right now, like a supermarket brand of ours has brought out like new trolleys, and they look a little bit odd and different and they're kind of cool, but like some people hate them and they're like, oh, don't like those new trolleys, la 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 la. And so our team's in there going, I don't shame the trolleys, and sort of have turned it into a bit of a fun like joke, really, rather than just going, oh, okay, you know, you do need to have a really good sense of humour and good empathy to community manage, and just it's okay, people are just having a go. The other big really important thing, super easy thing to do straight away, is if you actually put a name, like a first name, at the end of a comment from a company, it personalises it. Because right now people go, oh, that horrible big corporate or company over there. When you actually put a name, something as simple as a name, it calms everyone down by 50% immediately, because they remember that a company is not a mythical beast. It's actually a collection of people, and they're talking to real people at the end of the day. It's kind of like that celebrity reading mean tweets kind of thing that does happen, but it's just part of life.
So just picking it that a bit further, Wendy, the one question that was posted was about the speed of response. So how quick should you respond when things are starting to go a little awry in those comments?
As soon as possible, even if you don't have an answer. Like, just say, look, I hear you, I'm going to look into it, and I'll be right back. Like, just show that people just want to know that you've listened. Even if it's as simple as, like, if you don't know the answer, you just go, oh, yep, hear you, get my team to look into it, I'll be back. And then make sure you obviously do, once you have the answer, go back and close the loop. If someone's got a personal issue, like they might have a package that hasn't arrived or something like that, our standard response is always to get that into private communication.
Yeah.
Because, like, from a brand point of view, it's good to do that, but also from the customer's privacy point of view, it's really important to do that. You don't want customers sharing private information on a public page. It's really bad practice. So the first thing to do, if it's something personal to them, like, I don't know, they got a product that arrived that was damaged or it hasn't arrived, it's like, great, can you please private message us with a few more details, including your phone number and address, so we can look into it for you, is the second rote learning thing you can take out of this.
Yeah. And following up your suggestion of having a name, the question is, should that be a real name or a fictitious, avatar type name? I used to work for a company that had a German revolutionary as the name of the person that would respond to all the messages that were coming out of the company, so that they knew if a message came back addressed to that person, where that had come from.
That's a really good. Yeah, that's a really good idea. My team often they do a mixture. Some of them, depending on the client, like to change their names up, but they do like to have that consistency. So it helps. You do need to, if you've got multiple people working on your business, it's good to know who was who. If you don't have software to track that, so who replied, and so within your company yourself, I wouldn't recommend having a company name, but I see why they did that. But I actually think it's better if you've got lots of people to have, Joe, Jim, and Jack, even if it's Julie, Hannah, and Sarah, so you know who was commenting on which one from a real practical point of view. I like that name, that idea though. What's your avatar name? What's your spy name?
Should we cut into some of those questions, Andrew, that we've got backlogged there? Or is this what do we have next on the list?
Yep. So I have no idea where we're up in the list of questions that were put forward previously. So there's a question about filtering social media chatter. So that's general stuff that isn't necessarily specific to you, or possibly going way off topic, as often happens in Twitter in particular, to stuff that might have real impact for you and your business. How do you filter that?
Oh, there is no easy way. I really wish there was. You've still got to, unfortunately, have eyes on every comment. I wish, if I find some software, I will let you guys know, but I haven't done anything yet. You just got to go through. Like there are programs that say they do it, but nothing good that's perfect, apart from eyes, unfortunately.
There was a question.
I know that, sorry, Dave. I know it's something that Google is definitely working on with their AI experimentation, but it's not really in the realm of the small business yet.
Yeah, and we've tried like 3 or 4 different solutions, and like they've missed big important things. So it's like we'll get there. I think that software will get there. It's just not there yet.
There was a question there, I was just looking at the notes, there was a question there around current shopping trends and will they continue, and then leading on to Q3, Q4. I think it's probably quite a topical conversation, and we're going to budget out in the next couple of days to sort of round things out. So economically, there's some questions coming. I'll give you a perspective of what I see from an economic point of view. I think that I've seen all sorts of numbers coming out, but the largest, one of my clients was up 1,000%. So that's over 10 times over the last few weeks, which caused a bit of pandemonium. But that aside, I think consumers or our customers have all, after being in lockdown, have had this relentless, I want to buy something. And it may not be a luxury item, but it's a luxury to go and spend when you have been, I guess, largely starved of spending for a period of time. I think there's a bit of a bubble forming, which is we'll see a few weeks or maybe a month of spend, and then from an economic point of view, my concern is moving toward Q3 is we've got a lot of structural change in our economy, which, unlike the last recession, we saw unemployment peak 2 years later. I think structurally we're seeing fundamentally the country changing. You know, international tourism's changed, tourism's changed, hospitality's changed, retail will change, malls will change. So no industry has really, I guess to a degree, most industries have been affected and will be affected in some way or the other. So I think what we'll see is a flattening of spend. I think we'll see online will continue to, compared to history, I think online will be stronger. It won't probably continue the way it is, because that's just in my view, a sort of a mop up of this discretionary spend that we've seen. But I think,
do you think, Dave, the research, like the people have been doing so much online research, that's really changed that kind of experience? Do you think that'll continue?
I think
even if they don't buy, they'll still do more online research than they be used to.
I certainly, well, yeah, it'll bump it up a bit. There's a lot of online research, or most purchases now are always triggered from an online research point of view. Now, it's just that level of conversion online was phenomenal from what I've seen in the past. So the level of conversion, which is, you know, buying to the amount of browsing, was significantly higher in all clients. So it means there was a real intention to purchase, which is a very different thing to just browse and buy. So very focused, very mission shopped. So I think there's an element of people are feeling like they want to have some stuff, a bit of luxury around them, whatever that may be. But I do think that the spend will come off. And as I said, that economically, we're going to see a really big structural change in the country where, and it's hard, I think my advice for Q3, Q4, plan for the worst and hope for the best, would be how I'd approach it.
Yeah, there's a few key trends that have come out of COVID which are going to stay, which might help as well with the positioning of everyone here. And apart from the sort of digital first, like because everyone's just researching online, and that might be through you know, asking a question on Facebook or through to actually, you know, Google SEO. Apart from that, the other couple of ones that we've seen come through is that real considered consumption. So, you know, to your point, Andrew, about people had more time. Well, I don't know. I find that either the people have lots of time or no time, and they're like me, like no time or lots of time because they can't go to work. But it's if you're one of that considered consumption, so it's that whole kind of, do I really need it? Is it environmentally friendly? Is it good for the planet? Could I make do with something else? Like, people are putting a lot more thought into what they're buying instead of just kind of buying and getting caught in the buying cycle. And I think that might continue on for a little bit longer, because it was a movement before and now it's just been cemented. The other thing is this kind of real purpose-led, or wanting to follow businesses that are really purpose-led. So bringing that to the front of your marketing. Like if you're a luxury brand, maybe it's less about the luxury stuff and more about the giving back messaging. I'd be tweaking that, because that's real purpose-led. The other one, which is kind of cool, is like, I call it radically human, which was something that my friend Claudia mentioned. I was like, I'm going to steal that because that sounds amazing. And that's that real transparency of people wanting to really see who's behind a company. And in the big corporates, some companies have done this really well, some haven't done this as well. But you can do that at all levels of business. And if you look at the New Zealand Products Facebook page, which had over 400,000 followers yesterday that I saw, there's this, which leads into the other one, which is that patriotism. Like, people are really wanting to shop local, buy local, and it's not so much like, I've been having some interesting conversation with retail with producers, and like, does it actually have to be made in New Zealand? It's like, no, they just need to know that there's a Kiwi behind it. There's Kiwi, like, it's just a Kiwi.
So it benefits a local business somewhere along the way.
Yeah, and like, I got really upset when people were having a real go at McDonald's, for example, because I was like, those are like New Zealand owners and New Zealand staff. Like, I get it, but it's still a New Zealand business, even though it's got like an American name on it. So it's kind of that whole But the patriotism thing is really strong. So talking about your Kiwi roots, the fact that you're a Kiwi business, I think when you're doing your marketing efforts right now, those sort of 4 things are good ones to remember. Because I agree with Dave, it's definitely going to flatten off. There's just not going to be as much money coming around, and the people that have, the industries that have been most affected, unfortunately, are the sort of the spenders. So it's just changing everything around, which is a bit sucky.
So there's a few themes that you've pulled out there, Wendy, and one that might sort of link a few of them together is the question about authenticity. So how do you come across as authentically local and committed and purpose-led, to use some of the phrases that you used, and yet still engaging with a fairly wide audience in social media? I know it's a hard balancing act, but are there some tips that you can give on how to do that?
Yeah, probably the 2 biggest tips is be consistent. So do it regularly. Get out there, daily or every 2 or 3 days, and be regular to be seen. And Jacinda's a great example of that. She's out there, with her daily briefing. And the other thing is, it can be really scary, like to actually get yourself out there, especially if you're a business owner and you like building a business or being in the marketing background or being behind the computer if you're into data. But actually putting yourself out there is really scary. But once you do it, it gets easier and easier. And it does get easier and easier before it gets harder again. So it's just a matter of not thinking about it too much. Take some photos, do some lives, practice with your friends first, and then just getting out there and telling your story and talking from the heart. And that's where agencies can be good and bad, because in one way they can help give you that confidence and help you get that message right, but at the same time there's something so beautiful and raw about someone just speaking from the heart as well. So it's an interesting one.
I'm just looking at some of the questions coming through in the chat. I wonder if I might just dive in and answer a couple of questions.
Go for it.
Because there's a couple of data ones there that excite me. A/B testing. Someone asked about A/B testing. Yep, I'm a big fan of A/B testing. And yes, where you can, A/B test where you can, because you can learn a tremendous amount of customers' behaviour A/B testing. It's not necessarily simple, but there are some really great tools available to help you A/B test.
Would you mind just explaining what that is to people who may not have heard that before?
Thank you, Andrew. A simple A/B test. So an example of a campaign I've run in the past was button colours, or a great A/B test with people that sell footwear is if you point the toe towards a buy button, you'll get a higher conversion rate. So you can have a hypothesis. If I use certain type of imagery, that will that will drive a higher conversion rate. And then you would produce several campaigns, test them like for like in market, and you get a different response rate. The one I'd suggest to you all, without being too clever, for email subject line testing is absolutely golden, because there is a lot of opportunity in subject line testing to drive open rates in emails. It is probably, from my point of view, the easiest place to start A/B testing, and probably the most rewarding, because we could be talking about 2 or 3 points or percentage points of difference in open rates, which if you convert at the same rate, it's money in the bank. Speaking of conversion, there was another question in there around conversion rates. One is struggling to drive conversion rates or measuring conversion rates. I measure conversion across everything. So it is the number of transactions per unit of traffic. So you look at it by channel, you look at it by day, you can look at it by absolutely anything. It's got to be meaningful, of course. So in my tracker, a conversion is a key metric. So are we at 2% or 2.5% last week relative to last year, relative to last week? And then you're looking at what's changed. If you've got a site that's not converting, there's usually a reason for that. And again, without going into too much detail, the likes of Wendy and I can help with that if you message us directly. But it's going to come down to something is blocking your customer from shopping with you.
Yeah, it's good to see where the button is, or we were playing around with some things yesterday, and my husband's business, non-business, because he works in tourism, so he's having to pivot quite dramatically. And it was just where the link was on his website, and just bringing that up the page, and that totally changed his conversion rates. So it's really it's fun to play. The other thing we're finding right now working really well are Facebook lead forms. That's in a more B2B rather than retail, but it's really interesting. So things are changing all the time. But there's some interesting, lots of questions here about privacy. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Dave, or do you want me to?
I can actually. I was a privacy officer for Briscoe, so big on privacy too. But I'm just trying to find a question around privacy. Have we got any?
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. It was just kind of basic. There's just a few different questions about how I took it, just rolling through was people, should we be trusting social media networks with our privacy, websites, things like that.
Was in particular in connection with Facebook?
My theory is like you shouldn't put anything on the internet that you don't want to be public. That's how it works. What I teach my children. You should just assume that nothing is safe.
Yeah, I think that's the best approach. If you put it in the digital world, you're basically putting it out in the open. But from a business point of view, for everyone out there, a solid you do also need to have a solid privacy policy as well that meets the requirements of the up and coming Privacy Act that is changing. Because if you have a breach in privacy, i.e., somebody steals email addresses, or you have say an internal breach or something, and you don't resolve it, you could be fined or worse, shut down. So the privacy officer is will have more powers in the coming revised Privacy Act. It is something to be aware of. So if you're not familiar,
and you can get insurance for it too. Just FYI, you can get cyber insurance, which is really handy if you're a smaller business and you just kind of like do the base. And the great thing is they teach you through the basics, but then also if anything really happens, nice to know.
That's probably a really good point as well to touch on, is around cybersecurity. Again, anyone that's on a Shopify or a platform-based site largely will be covered in terms of structure. You've got a good solid base, but if you've got a bespoke developed website, someone's done it for you, you're on Magento 1, there are some gaps out there that you need to start thinking about, because you could become a target, or if you are targeted for a cybersecurity attack, that could have quite far-reaching consequences as well. So again, something to be aware of.
Yeah, Facebook, from a cybersecurity, Facebook and Shopify are actually really, really safe, or Google for storing data. Just think the bigger the better in a way, because they've got their things out there. Also, Microsoft's just launching a server in New Zealand, which is really cool. Which, if you're a bigger company and worried about Australia, for example, there's all sorts of kind of stuff going on in that space. Possibly
the platforms themselves have a reasonable amount of security, but the other thing to be aware of is who has access to passwords, changing passwords for social media channels. I have seen a breach of social media where a disgruntled staff member posted an inappropriate photo on a company website.
That does happen quite often. It's actually really entertaining, but also not okay. But yes.
So that from a security point of view, it's sort of internal and external.
Yeah. There was a good question. Should we go back to our topics, Dave? There was something about storytelling. We should talk about storytelling. So one of the questions was how to create compelling content on, whether it's on any sort of marketing really. And probably the point that I'd written down here that I really wanted to make was it's actually about story making, not storytelling. And we've sort of gone from this, and it's a little bit what I said before about that broadcast message of here's our company and here's what we do, to, okay, what are we, and the we is really important, what are we doing together, and just bringing people into your community. And that's where you talk about the stories of what everyone's doing in your business. So whether it's suppliers, whether it's staff, whether it's your customers, right now, especially, we're seeing people want to know, and this ties into one of the other chat questions as well a little bit about, what's that fine line between talking about COVID too much, because at the end of the day, people are kind of sick of it and they want to hear positive stories, but People want to know what you're doing to help the staff in this time. They want to know what you're doing to help your suppliers, and they're wanting to know what are you doing to help your customers and make that a nice experience, as good an experience as possible. That's what people want to know out there on social media right now. But also just in general with content, if you can include people, and it's that kind of, it's old school stuff. It's testimonials. It's like one little thing we did with New World is someone started for Poppy Day. We saw that it was really random. We just saw a couple of people doing it, and this is where insights were useful. We're cutting out those New World bags, like the the click and collect type bags that you get, and making them into poppies, and then putting them on their as a symbol, I suppose, on their fences. And it was like really beautiful and really cool. We saw a couple of people doing it, so we put together a piece of content to tell that story. Like, hey guys, if you want to show your support on Anzac Day, we've seen that our community is cutting our bags up into these things. Here's how you do it, and we'd love to see more of it. And that's a really good example of involving your community in the story, rather than saying, hey, we've got strawberries on sale for $3.99. It just brings people into the story. That's a simple way to do it. Yeah, it's crazy at the moment. Another good example. Yeah, it's just that I wanted to sort of bring that point of transparency, authenticity that we've talked about before, and just really being a real company and not being all shiny. It's being real at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat about how you convert eyeballs or visiting traffic into sales, and I guess that authenticity is definitely part of it. You might attract people with the sort of
the other part is price.
Yes, so I mean, you talked about mission shopping and considered consumption, both of you. Mission shopping does tend to be price orientated. If people are looking for something in particular, then they will find the cheapest price out there. So how can small businesses in particular safeguard their margins by not cutting things to the absolute bone and yet keep customers along for the ride?
I think service is the key to that. When I say service, if you're a small business, you have to outperform the large businesses, which means you've got to be fast. You've got to, like at the moment, your web orders, and I know it's challenging at the moment, but getting your web orders out fast, like we talked about before, responding to customers quickly, because it gives customers the assurance that you really care. You've got to, we're never going to get away from price. I think it's price with a difference. So it's not cutting to the bone, but there's always going to be levels of discount, because savvy customers are always going to force price to a degree. But if you become a trusted advisor of a customer, meaning that, and there's certain brands I'll just go to because I trust them, because I trust their price and I trust the service. If you're in that space, that then you're not necessarily competing directly on price with a large big box. I
think competing on price is really, 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 really hard, especially when you've got like Costco and things coming in. I think the strength and the opportunity that smaller businesses have is exactly what Dave said, is to give that personalization and that feeling that you actually care, because you actually do. And what's really good is to just keep remembering that you're not selling a hammer, you're selling a hole, which is something I learned in marketing school at university 20 years ago, and I still remind myself, it's like, we're not selling a pen, I'm selling a writing. So it's all about those little things. I've got like friends of mine who had like small retail clothing shops. Like, they've done massive amounts of online sales during this period, so much so that she's really annoyed, because she kind of wants to go, she loves being in her shop and like selling in the shop, but whose online sales are going so well, she's like, oh, it sucks. But she's been like handwriting cards out to all of her customers, for example. She's like, I've got sore hand from doing it. So it's all those little things that you can do to add that experience, and it's all about experience right now. I'm a big believer in not in discounting, but in adding. And I know, sorry Dave, would not work for Briscoes, because Briscoes is built on discounting. That's what they're made for. But it's that add-on rather than the discount.
But that's the point.
It depends on the product. Yeah.
You're a big box. Like my experience with Briscoes was, it was just all about the sale and nothing else. You didn't offer anything else. The service level was relatively low, but it was all about price. But you can compete outside that because customers do want more.
Yeah.
And just speaking of experience, I've seen the chat. There's a couple of lines in there around chatbots, and the reason I pull that out when we're talking experience, because I've not really had great experience with chatbots myself, and I think they've got to be fit for purpose. And the question, would I use a chatbot, or what experience with chatbots have been, been pretty average. I wanted to get one set up for Briscoes, but I was resisted doing that because I just felt the experience was not going to really come off. Although having said that, anecdotally, the evidence I've seen is when it comes to looking up where's my order or some simple FAQ online
to
chat
opening
stuff.
hours.
Yeah, the real easy questions. That does lend itself to chatbot, but it's got to be a really seamless experience, because I don't know about all you guys, but I've had some appalling experience where chatbots have gone round in circles, and I just want to talk to a person and just want to get a question answered.
I reckon the best ones I've ever seen, because that's how they have their entire sales cycles worked out, are the ones on big American software companies. Like, if you want to look at a really good sales funnel chatbot, they seem to be really, really good. And like, it's sort of the whole experience of like, what are you looking for? Fill out this form. Here's a link to book a time in my calendar to talk.
Yeah.
They're more B2B sales, but they're beautiful and seamless. And I suppose they've really, really invested in it, because that's their entire, they're trying to be a unicorn and build and build and build. So that's why they've done that. But from a real practical point of view, I agree with Dave. Those little FAQs, chucking those in. You can do chatbots for free on Facebook, just in the settings. You can just set up some basic FAQ, easy ones. And they've just launched this thing on Instagram. If you're a business, and I'll probably get this wrong, and my team will tell me off for not getting the words quite right. But basically, when you do a story, you can sort of set it up as a bit of a basic chatbot as well, to answer those simple questions like opening hours, etc. Yeah,
I agree.
Interesting. Yeah, so I'm really fascinated to see. Like, I don't know about what you think, Dave and Andrew, but I think AI is going to be huge in retail, because we were talking on a call the other day, and I was like, I don't like shopping. I'm one of those people that the whole idea of going into a store is just so annoying. But I was like, wouldn't it be cool if you could like scan yourself and like just try clothes on in a digital way? Because if the clothes arrive, because I'm not very tall, they never fit me properly. It's so annoying. And like, that would be an amazing experience. And this whole, or like, you put on some glass goggles and you can just walk through and sort of see what's all happening. And it's happening at a very basic level around the world. But like, I would love to be sent, like a retailer sends me a pair of glasses I can put on, walk through a Briscoes or a Paper Plus store and like pull stuff off the shelves and read a book. I was like, that would be amazing. So I think it's coming. It's just not there yet.
Yeah. I agree. There'll be a level of virtual experience coming. It's funny, as a technologist, I find the idea of that quite terrifying, because I think people, I guess the behavioural economist in me says that people want to interact with people. So there's always going to be an element of people wanting to socialise or have a social contact in retail, as opposed to it just being, a cold digital experience.
Just to sort of bring you up to date with things that are going on at Massey, we have a PhD student, or nearly finished PhD student, who has built a virtual world that you can walk through and pull things off shelves and turn products around and so on. So all sorts of things going on in that space.
Sign me up as a tester. I'm really keen.
Yeah, sure, I can put you in touch.
So I hate
okay, so I've got a thought on this. I struggle with it because, and it comes back to my catalogue days of EasyBuy. We tried to digitise catalogues and take them online, and it was taking an offline paradigm online that didn't quite fit. So people aren't going to sit there and digitally browse a catalogue because it doesn't fit. And that's why I find it fascinating, because I'm not going to walk a mall virtually, because if I could do that in reality, why wouldn't I do it in reality? Because it's the time continuum challenge, which is I don't have the time to do it. So why would I do it digitally if I can do it physically? I find that quite fascinating.
Of course, for the last 4-6 weeks, you haven't been able to do that physically. So
Yeah.
possibly having those experiences would have been a good thing.
Yeah. So you become really focused on single or low click ordering, i.e., just buy online, get the job done, and every day a box turns up with stuff in it. And
Yeah, but that's
you know,
where I think that whole conversation is interesting, because where I think the problem is like, for example, with catalogs, people just literally took the physical catalog and like copied it and put it online, and it's like, that's not, people don't read online in that way. They don't read online like that. So I just thought that was really very stage one. Whereas actually you need to think about how people act online and give that experience in an online way, not try and recreate, not just chuck up a PDF of a book. Like, I saw everyone do that and I was like, oh, that's not how we read online though. Like,
no, and that's why I think the digital to non-digital worlds are very different. They don't just necessarily cross over as in sort of a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's not quite exactly like walking through a store, but I just wish there was more. Yeah, like for me, it'd be like, is there some sort of virtual Wendy Thompson model that I could look at clothes on instead of looking at 6-foot models all the time, because they do not look like me when I put them on and I get them in the door.
Probably another question. Sorry, I was just looking at my notes. There was another question around the sort of pending future that I think we should touch on, is around malls and what's going to happen in malls, because a lot of people I've talked to, there's quite a hot topic at the moment is, well, what's going to happen if I'm in a mall store? And I don't know, hard to get a gauge, but is there anyone out there through the, maybe through the chat, is anyone out there got stores in malls? And how are you feeling about that at the moment? Because I sort of think with social distancing and the way people are operating, there's going to be quite a pressure on the mall stores as opposed to independents. Any thoughts on that, Andrew?
Obviously, every mall is different. One of the key benefits of the mall when they first got going was the protection from the elements, the security, and being a private space. And in some ways, those actually work to the benefit of mall stores. If people are worried about engaging with people that they don't know, walking down the street, and they're being prevented from going into a store in a queue, then being in a mall environment is a safer space than being on the street front.
So it's an interesting way to think about it, because I would be interested if we were to survey people, would you go into a mall, whether there's people have a preconceived view that malls are unsafe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's early days to try and figure that out, but there are pros and cons to a mall environment. The big con at the moment are the leases, and we had that as the subject of our webinar last week, webinar 2. So if that's on people's minds, I encourage you to go back and take a look at that. Wendy, I'm just conscious of the time. It's 10:58, and I know you need to be somewhere at 11. Okay. So I'll give you the opportunity to have a last word if there's something that's on the top of your mind. Dave, you can stay on.
Yeah.
As can everyone else.
You guys can stay on. Yeah, sorry, I've got to rush. Thank you so much. It's been really, really fun. I always love having chats like this. One thing I could leave you guys with is language. I've seen I just saw this note from Ella come through talking about rescue parcels instead of online shopping, and I think there's so much power in changing your language. So it's not a marketing cost, it's a marketing investment. So rescue package. And one thing that I've seen work so well for online shopping is, instead of calling it an online sale, you call it an online event, and people register to that event and they get a very small amount of time to get to have access to a sale. And I've had a few friends do this over the last 5 weeks, and they've had record sales, like selling out in 17 minutes type thing. And it's all because they didn't call it an online sale, they called it an online event. So just my last note would be to just think about your language. Language is important. Note from Survey Avery, learned that one. Yeah, but thank you so much. And I'll send everyone out just a few notes of probably some links that might help of some tools and stuff you might find useful. Thank
Fantastic.
you so much, Andrew.
And we'll publicise your email in the recording of this that will be put up probably tomorrow on the Massey University site. You have got the link from that in your confirmation email, everyone. We'll also put up the questions. So if Wendy or Dave are seeing a question they would like to have answered and have just simply run out of time to do so, there will be an opportunity for them to respond in a written way subsequently, or of course directly with the people who are asking those questions. So Dave, I'll make the same offer to you. Any last words?
I guess the answer to me still lies in the numbers. You know, remember your marketing numbers. Ratio, the big one is just simple numbers, and be really clear about what you're spending or investing and where it's going.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you for both of you. And Dave, if you want to stay on, yeah, there's no reason on my part to shut this down quickly. But Wendy, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Prosper.
I've got a few more minutes, so if people want to go off mute and just open up and have a conversation, I'm happy to do that for a few minutes.
Yeah, what I might do just before you do that is just to sort of formally close the session, but not actually close it, and we'll keep that conversation going if people wish. But the formal close is just to thank everyone for being here, the two speakers, for their time and their insights and the fascinating conversation that flowed from that. And also to publicise this, which is next week's webinar. I'm sitting over the main image there. It's about getting back in-store environments. So we have two speakers from Retail X, Juanita Neville de Tiroto and Lisa Donaldson, both experts in the area. And they'll be sharing their insights in how the physical store environment can be rethought, repurposed, reimagined in our new retail environment. So stay tuned for that. We'll have publicity going out about it probably by tomorrow, and we'll contact all of you who have registered for this to see that. This recording will go up on the Massey site, as I said before, and you've got the link to follow to find that recording. But if you get at all lost, just do a Google search for Business Reboot and Massey University, and it should take you directly there. Or you can contact me, and my email address will be in the closing slide of the recording, which you won't be able to find without the link to the recording. Never mind. So thank you all for your attendance today, and I hope you found that useful. But stay here if you wish to pose some audible questions to Dave. So if you wish to do that, unmute yourself, ask the question, and then mute yourself again.
We've found it really frustrating because we've worked really hard on our website for a good 18 months, and we've always had the foot traffic to it, but it's really frustrating because we haven't been able to convert the sales. And given what's happened, we have been sending out rescue parcels. We've been contacting a few of our clients. We've been trading now for 14 years, so we've got this amazing database. But being based in Auckland, it's been also too really interesting to note that a lot of our sales have actually come from Canterbury. Go figure.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of the people that have actually brought online with us are from out of town.
Interesting. Can I assume you're selling apparel?
Yeah, we're lifestyle boutique. So we sell designer brands, we sell shoes, we sell bags, we sell belts. So basically what happens is the client comes to us, and then the next thing, she comes out of the change room, she's got the full outfit on, and she goes, well, I'll take it. So we tend to do multiple sales as opposed to just a t-shirt. Yeah.
And it's probably hard to translate that outfitting online to a degree.
Really hard. Really hard. Yeah.
Unless you sort of offer the outfit or try and curate outfits or try and use the site and curate the experience here by the outfit. But even that's still quite challenging. I think, to be fair, I think you're in an incredibly challenging space. My time in apparel was hard, but apparel, and you probably don't want to hear this now, but apparel I think is going to be in a challenging space.
Yeah, it's going to be really shitty. Like a lot of our suppliers that are Europe-based and that are US-based, they're going to hell and back at the moment. It's just terrible. Also, too, us getting freight into New Zealand is going to be challenging.
Are you freighting?
Yeah, we are.
Ooh,
I know, and the dollar is just disgusting. Like I
it
had
is.
to pay for some blazers the other day, and I think it was like 2,500 New Zealand,
Yeah.
and it cost us nearly 6,000. Oh, sorry, 2,500 US, and it cost us nearly 6,000 New Zealand. I mean, it's just
Have you got enough stock on hand to start using sea freight?
We also do our own labels. So my other concern for our community in the fashion industry here in New Zealand is that there are cutters and makers and fabric people that all need to be supported.
Yeah.
So over the last week or so, we've been frantically running around the fabric guy, and I've been going to the cutters every morning so that we've got product coming through of our own. And I think moving forward, that's where hopefully, because everybody has so much confidence in our October Rain label, that's the product that we'll be selling. It's just a matter now of trying to keep up.
Probably an opportunity to really push that as well, because as part of the Buy New Zealand campaign, and without being unauthentic, it is an opportunity to push that, because that's keeping people alive in New Zealand.
Yeah, and also too for us, just to bounce ideas around, all of our courier or all of our online orders or all of our app pros that were here based in Auckland, we have actually delivered to the clients personally. I've called them, I've said, I'm your stalker, I'm standing outside your house. And I mean, it's been quite
huge.
Yeah, and it's been quite an emotional journey, because a lot of clients have burst into tears because you don't know what's happening in their life. So you go from being, trying to be the designer and the stylist to the counsellor.
Yeah. So interesting, the guys at Paper Plus have been doing that as well. And it's quite a good journey to drop off a book or a product or something personally is, if you've got without having thousands of orders, if you can do 10, 20, 30 orders, that's materially different. And that's what engages. And I think that changes everything for customers. It's a level of service that just goes above and beyond. You've got a really authentic local story. You've got great product. You can engage with customers. But you've got a real slog ahead of you, though, and that's the things you've got to think. What are you going to do differently, or how can you be different to the big box retailers who are, in reality, they're just going to go to price.
And we've always, like as a business, when I first started out in business, because I've always been in the fashion industry, one of the ladies that I used to supply to, she said to me, Nikki, don't give discount to anybody, because how do you differentiate who's entitled to that discount? She said there's that real fine line, and especially given the end of the market that we're in. So for example, one of our international brands is Camilla, which is very prestigious from Australia. We offered 30% off online for Mother's Day and sold one piece.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. That's interesting. I've seen brands do that as well, and then with certain brands, price isn't the issue.
No.
Yeah.
And then, like for some of our online sales, we've got another brand that comes out of America, which is called Corral, which is activewear. That's been interesting, because that's a retail price of like $139, and we've actually sold quite a few pairs of the Corral leggings. We've had a few novelty pieces, like we did this amazing Rome slide, which is all fluffy. We sold pretty much all of those online during the lockdown period. So I think that they're those pieces where they've been fun factor, make you feel good. So it's quite interesting because we can track where people are going on our website. So it's quite interesting to see where it's going. But then I've also too been receiving text messages from clients where they really want to support us, but they don't feel confident shopping online. So that's another barrier.
Yeah, there's a real barrier there. That I think that's slowly changing.
Yeah. It'll be slow
challenge, but slowly changing.
Yeah. But I guess it's now trying to get the foot traffic back into because we're based in Newmarket and we've also got a boutique in Ponsonby, but it's now just getting foot traffic back into our communities. And like for us, having the Westfield Shopping Centre, that's been a huge hit to our area over the last basically 3 years whilst it's been built. And so it was already challenging times. So, you know, if someone comes along and says to me, Nikki, you owe us X amount now, I mean, we're pretty much screwed.
Mm. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in 277 over the next couple of months, or even from sort of next week onward, and see how much foot traffic actually ends up back in there.
Well, it's not been called 277 anymore, Dave, I'm afraid. That's the old terminology.
I know, sorry, I'm too old school.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's another cafe that's just down the road from us, and Tim does an amazing job. They've been in business since we've been in this precinct as well. So we were one of the first boutiques to open in this area. And Tim's comment to me prior to us going in lockdown was he'd gone for a walk through the shopping centre itself, and he said, Nikki, those cafes must be absolutely struggling. One guy sitting on one cup of coffee with his laptop, basically he's using it as his office, and that does not pay the rent.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging. Is there anyone else got questions out there? Well, I'm just conscious of time
and falling participant numbers as well. So
yeah, I think everyone's pretty much done, are we?
To go get a cup of coffee or go get a haircut or go get in the queue for a haircut for tomorrow, maybe. Who knows? Perhaps one question, Dave, that I don't know if you've got an easy answer to this, but it's about delivery promises. It was something that was raised last week by Katrina Hammond. So people, big retailers, the likes of the Warehouse in particular, have long delivery windows that they're promising at the moment, about 2 weeks to collect or to deliver. And that's perhaps reflecting the volume of orders that they've been working their way through, or perhaps systems that aren't quite aligned as they should be. Thinking through for smaller retailers, what should they be careful about in promising delivery windows at the moment?
Well, the big box retailers, I know from my in the wider network, it's just a straight scale thing, and I'm helping some guys at the moment deal with those issues. And it's not the thing I've learned in all the years is if you're behind, you get up. You need to be up front and talk to customers and let them know what's happening. And by and large, if customers know you're going to be late and it's a genuine reason, they usually live with that. If you don't communicate and you don't do anything, they get really, really, really shitty because they don't know what's going on. And sometimes it's really hard to communicate. But the key to it is, you know, if you can stay on top of it, work fast. If you can't, communicate and keep communicating. And that's where else.
I had the flip side of that with a company that I was dealing with. I was trying to buy a scooter for my daughter during lockdown. It was her birthday.
Yeah.
And I noticed one particular small company that was promising next day delivery, and I simply didn't believe it because I was looking at the warehouse and so on, and they're talking about 2 weeks, and I said, how is this possible? And they said, yes, we are living up to that next day delivery.
Yeah, I saw that with my son walked in the other day with a whole bunch of stuff from Repco to clean his car, and I said, where did you get that from? And he goes, I've just been down to Repco. I did a 30-minute click and collect. I said, there's no way you could have done that. He goes, no, they're standing by their service promise. And the reason I raise it, I'm still, obviously they haven't had the volume other retailers have had, but wow, what a service delivery promise at the moment, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're working hard to achieve that. I think that's massive.
Yeah.
But again, I almost feel like I can't believe it right now because everyone else is struggling.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, I think we might call things to a halt there since we haven't had any further questions, and numbers are getting low. So thank you everyone for your attendance, and Dave, and of course Wendy for your insights. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
If you want to talk some more, just flick me an email and we can catch up again if you want.
Yeah.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'd love that. That'd be amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. No.
If you just want to put your email up on the chat, and I'll leave that running just for a minute or so.
Oh yeah. So are you going to do that, Andrew, or do I?
I could find it quickly.
I don't know if I can.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. I can put it up. Right.
There's my email if people want to get in touch. I can see Jane.
There we go.
There we go.
There is.
Well, I hope everyone goes okay, because it's yeah, challenging times ahead.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. So your email address, Dave, will be up on the
Yep.
on the recording when that goes up on. It will be on YouTube, but it'll be hosted by Massey Business School, where you can also find the links to webinars 2 and 1 and the others as they go through. This is a series of 8 now.
Nice.
Next week is on store experiences. Week 5, webinar 5 is on right sizing cash flows. So that's stock and inventory and logistics costs and so on. Week 6 is on logistics and fulfillment. 7 is on liquidation and health and safety legislation. We're calling that, actually I can't remember what I call that. I've got some cool name for that webinar. And then week 8 is on long-term strategies. So there's a nice flow right through, and hopefully they will continue to be of help. So thank you, everyone.
Amazing.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Good luck, everyone. Stay safe and trade well.
Yeah.
And enjoy your haircuts.